Greetings and welcome to Phantom's Edge. This will be Chapter 4 of this reading. Standing at attention in Vice Admiral Edison's office, Captain Diana and Captain Highton waited for their punishment, knowing what was to happen with the reports they had given their superior. The Vice Admiral stood and stared out from his headquarters towards the docking bay of the Bureau's settlement, his back to his subordinates, while he had his hands behind himself. Captain Highton, the Vice Admiral asked, "Why is it after a week, having parted from your peace treaty signing, do you return to me only to report that you encountered Captain Kaio, and your men let him go?" Highton, knowing that if he had responded, he'd just be told to keep quiet, stayed silent to his superior and looked down, feeling inferior. After a few seconds, the Vice Admiral continued, "And Captain Diana, why, with the most fierce battalion, were you unable to apprehend nor even keep the pirate from taking one of the most powerful ships in our arsenal?" "Sir," Diana responded, "he's the dual-edged demon. I tried, but what?" The Vice Admiral barked as he turned to face the two captains, hitting his right fist onto his desk. He then yelled, "You both had him, and you both let him get away. The most wanted pirate in the known sea. Not only is he still out there, he has the Andromeda, one of our greatest battleships, at his control. Give me one good goddamn reason why I shouldn't strip you both of your ranks right now. Sir," Diana yelled as she slammed her palms down on the Vice Admiral's desk. "You want a goddamn reason? Here's your goddamn reason. While fighting Kaio, I found a weak point in his tactics." Edison and Highton looked at the Avifaun, confused, while she lowered her voice and continued, "He even told me himself. He can't aim with any object that launches projectiles. He shot at me twice, and both times he missed." Vice Admiral stood up as he asked, "Is this so?" Diana stood herself up as well and replied, "He was about 12 feet away when he gave out the first shot with a pistol. Then, when he took the ship, he fired a starboard cannon and missed me once again by quite a distance. Not even the shrapnel was able to so much as touch me." Edison looked down at his desk and began to smile as he started laughing at that thought. He turned around to look outside again as he said, "Some pirate. Can't even use a pistol right. We can use this to our advantage. Very well then." He waved his right hand to tell his subordinates off, while he said, "Report to the others to confront this pirate, Captain Kaio, at a distance. And don't mess up this time." Both captains saluted their Vice Admiral as they said, "Yes, sir." Then they headed out to do their duty. With his crew, Kaio docked both great vessels at Kukala and went to the pussy parlor to relax. Half of the men had themselves a party for taking hold of the Andromeda, while the rest were cheering that they had thwarted the bureaucracy once again from stopping them for the 1000th time. As his crew went to enjoy themselves, Kaio went up to the bartender and asked, "Is Kitty available?" "Sure thing." He looked over to his left to a beautiful feminine felina calico and whistled for her. Then he moved to take her place at the other end of the bar. Kitty smiled as she strutted over and went to lean on the counter towards the pirate, where she asked, "Finally want my company, Kaio?" "Sorry, loves. Not today." The felina whined, yet started purring as Kaio smiled and continued, "I want to know what anyone has found out about the authorities sailing the ocean." Kitty's tail wagged as she stared at the pirate, while reaching under the bar with her left hand to grasp a letter. She handed it to the Kanai as she asked, "When will you ever ask me for something more pleasurable, Kaio? Are you somehow lonely? Knowing you're the only one of the greatest pirates I haven't had? Yes. And since you are the #1 most wanted, my service is free for the first round." The pirate chuckled as he went to read the note, finding nothing new that would affect him. He then handed the letter back to Kitty for her to properly dispose, where she just held it over a candle on a large plate. The letter safely burned up as the ashes landed around the base of the candle, which were quickly dumped in a bucket of water by the male felina. "So," Kitty asked, "when will you finally spend time to spoil yourself with me?" Kaio was silent for a moment, then responded, "I'll let you know when I'm ready, dearie." The pub owner whined again as she saw the pirate turn to head out, while he said, "See you later, kitty." Watching until he was out the door, the owner continued with her smile as she said, "Later, Kaio." Well, at noon, Kaio went to check up on the other half of his crew, who were making the Andromeda to look the same as the Kanai's first ship, the Wild One, black with 2 white lines going across both sides. He walked up to the wheel as the Rodania boy from before was pretending to steer, who glanced over at Kaio and quickly removed his hands from it. Pirate motioned to stand next to the child's left side as he looked over at him, then turned to stare out over the deck as he asked, "She's a beaut, isn't she, lad?" "She is, Captain," Thomas replied. Kaio glanced at the sails, then around the rest of the ship itself as he said, "It would be quite a joy for any person to take hold of this diva of the sea." "It would, sir." Kaio glanced back at the boy, then headed off to check on his own ship as he said, "Carry on, Thomas." Watching the Kanai walk away, the Rodania boy smiled as he said, "Aye, Captain." On the Wild One, the pirate went to his captain's quarters. He sat down at his desk, propping his feet up as he leaned back in his chair, while placing his hands behind his head and resting his eyes. After a few minutes, a knock came at the door, followed by a gentle, feminine voice that said, "Pardon my presence, Captain. I've done as you asked." Kaio moved to sit himself up as he lowered his hands onto his desk to see a Perseone raccoon walk in and shut the door behind her. She carried in her hands the formal uniform of the bureaucracy's military, the suit taken from the soldier that the Kanai had killed trying to inspect his ship. The woman walked up and placed the suit on the captain's desk. Then she stood up straight and said, "I've cleansed the suit to its formal appearance, as if it was never worn." Kaio examined the suit as he said, "Excellent as always, Daisy. Magnificent." "Unfortunately, it won't fit you, sir, nor any of the other male crew members, but it will fit Martha's son." The pirate stood up and went to walk outside, with the Perseone following him, as Kaio asked, "And where is the boy?" "Not sure, sir. He's nowhere on this ship." As the two stepped out, Kaio turned and motioned to the port side of his ship, looking out at the Andromeda as he said, "Ah, but I know where he is." "But then why did you ask, sir?" "Because I wanted to. Asking is very important and is a necessity, as are all great things, like blinking. Where's my gun?" "You don't have a gun, sir. You can't use them properly." Depressed for a moment as he gave a sigh, the Kanai looked down and said, "Aye." The Perseone became greatly confused. Then she turned away as she said, "I'll be helping the other women ready something for dinner for when we set sail, Captain." As she walked away, Kaio only turned his eyes in the direction of where the Perseone went and raised his right eyebrow, then lowered it while he continued to stare out at the Andromeda. He smiled as he watched Thomas happily stand and take hold of the wheel of the battleship confidently, almost as if he knew full well of what he was doing. Afterwards, Kaio reached into his left pocket to pull out a whistle, which he used to call the boy over. Thomas's ears popped up from the sound, while he jerked his head to where the noise came from. The boy then quickly headed off to meet up with the captain, with Kaio quickly putting the whistle away as he went to climb the lines to reach the crow's nest. To Captain Kaio, having Thomas find him was a game, as it was for the child also. Along with that, the Rodania had to tackle the Kanai in order to prove he had caught him. Kaio climbed the pole, glancing down to see where Thomas was, then went to slide down one line after noticing the boy was halfway towards him. He then released to land on the deck, where he ran around to head down into the crew's quarters. Thomas quickly jumped down and went to chase the captain, running after him as fast as he could. The boy went through the crew's quarters and into the dining sector of the ship, where he lost sight of the captain. He then started carefully examining the area as he slowly walked over to the kitchen. In there, he looked around to find 5 women fixing ingredients for the next meal, one being the boy's mother. The Rodania White Mouse, Martha, glanced over at her son and asked, "What's the matter, dearie?" Thomas didn't reply. He just went to checking every barrel of food to see if Kyle was hiding in one, first by tapping it to hear the hollowed noise it made, then if uncertain, opening the top to peek inside. After a few tries, Martha asked, "Looking for the captain again, Thomas?" "He's here somewhere," Thomas said. With the boy's back turned, Kyle revealed himself as he quietly stepped out from within a barrel of spuds. He then went to silently wander out of the kitchen. However, Martha noticed the man, but continued with her work as she loudly squeaked to get her son's attention. Kyle bolted out of the kitchen as Thomas glanced over. Then he too ran out after the captain. When the two left, one of the women looked over at Martha and said, "It's so nice to see the boys playing." "It is," Martha agreed. Kyle's been such a kind person to Thomas, knowing the boy was never able to grow up around his real father. "But aren't you afraid of your son becoming a pirate like the captain?" Martha looked down, saddened, remembering why she lost her husband, while she replied, "To be honest, I hope he becomes as good, if not better, than Captain Kyle. I knew that my husband was set up for the murder of those 4 wenches, none of which he even knew, but the bureaucracy didn't believe either of us. They obviously didn't take my husband's word for it, and they executed him, completely refusing to cooperate with me. Kyle, however, found who the real culprit was and slaughtered him. He even severed their head and the head of the executioner as a means of proof to avenge my husband." "Wow. I'm sorry for your loss, milady." "That's okay." Martha smiled as she looked over at the woman to her right and continued, "Kyle did all that without so much as asking. He knew something was up with the Bureau and went to set things straight. Ever since then, I've devoted my life to him and hoped that Thomas will be just like him one day." Meanwhile, just at the top of the stairs to the deck, Thomas caught up to the captain and tackled him to the floor. Kyle was completely surprised at how fast the boy was, even barely able to turn from hitting his face on the wood. The two laughed, then Kyle said, All right, you got me, lad." They stood up as the Kanai brushed himself off a bit, while Thomas said, "Are you going to teach me how to wield a sword now, Captain? After seeing how you fight, it would be amazing to be able to wield 2 swords like you." Kyle looked up, pondering at that thought. Then he leaned down to be eye level with the boy as he replied, "Maybe later." Thomas bent his head back as he closed his eyes and said, "Oh, come on, Captain. I've been practicing like you asked." The pirate stood up as he motioned off his ship, the boy following, while Kyle said, "First, we are to see what you know of a ship. Then, we'll see what you know of your surroundings, on and off the vessel. Last, we'll see how well you are with being vigilant." Kyle went to head for the Andromeda, but stopped as he quickly turned to the child and continued, "Only then will we see how well you handle a blade." Thomas smiled at that and said, I mean, Captain." Kyle said nothing to what he knew Thomas was to say, only lightly patted the boy on the head before turning back to lead them to the battleship. On deck, the two glanced around, then motioned for the center. The Kanai spun to face the boy as he said, "Now then." He raised his hands and glanced around once more, looking back at Thomas as he said, "Sail away." Thomas examined the area, speaking out each thing he knew of the ship as he saw it. He even went into detail with some of the things, proving how knowledgeable he was. Afterwards, Kyle went to point his fingers at something as a means to see if the boy knew of it, and Thomas exclaimed it without hesitation. Once the Rodania had said all there is to know of the ship, Kyle clapped his hands and said, "Very good, boy." He then went to hold the boy at his right side as he said, "I do say you may one day actually take control of this here vessel." Kyle went to motion off the ship, Thomas following in his every step, while the captain continued, "But for now, let's skip the other 2 lessons and go with another." "You mean, yes," Kyle quickly replied. "The lesson in women." What? Without any consent of the boy's mother, Kyle took Thomas to the pussy parlor. He went in and asked for a beer and also for Kitty. However, not for his own enjoyment, but for the boys. Kaio took the beer and hung around with the other pirates sitting at the tables, while Kitty escorted Thomas up to a most private and special room of her own. Thomas had no idea of what was to happen, nor did he even think it would be either a bad or good thing. He just let the Felina gently pull him by the arm to the room, where he experienced a thrill like no other, the joy of a woman and the excitement of love. This concludes the reading of Chapter 4. Thank you all for watching and listening. If you like what you've seen and heard, be sure to check out my other two novels, Lore of the Endowment and Ryu the Demon Slayer. Links will be in the description below. Other than that, stay safe, take care, and we'll see you next week reading Chapter 5.